Welcome, everybody. We're going to be reading and discussing Sonnet 130. And let's cut to Justin Scalise, who's going to read this for us. Justin Scalise.
My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black wires grow from her head. I have seen roses damasked, red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she treads, walks on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. Yeah, this one, this one's an interesting one. I'll be curious to hear your thoughts and Ann's thoughts on this, because this one I understand it certainly, and maybe it's because I get its point that it's saying that, so many poets talk about, oh, my mistress, my love is like a goddess. She shines like the sun. Her lips are redder than the coral of the sea, and that sort of thing. And I get that that's being highly imaginative and sort of overplaying it. But I something about that kind of poetry that I love too, and I've always loved. And so this one, while I understand its point, and I think it makes a valid point about poetry and seeing the person that we love for who they are, and not blowing them up in our imaginations and in our love for them. But I don't know, there's something wow, it really brings her down to all the way down to the ground. And I don't know, if I were the receiver of this poem, I'm not sure how I would react. You know what I mean?
Okay. Ann, what is going on with this poem?
This is a very famous poem.
I like this poem, actually.
It's a parody. It's a joke poem.
Yeah.
Justin was really taking it quite seriously. And that's why I think he was, he got upset about it. Like, what does the woman think when she reads this?
Oh, yeah.
And I think she would know that it's a joke. So we've got that. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. It's all negative, right? Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, where then her breasts are brown. That done.
D-U-N means
is
like grayish.
Yes, yes.
Gray.
So I think it's a fun poem. I think it's a very well-known poem. It's often actually taught in English classes because it's got a jokey side to it. It takes a normal poem and kind of turns it on its head.
Well, when you say jokey, like, I would be more specific and say satire on love poems. That's how I would take this.
Yes. I think while
I think we're saying the same thing, but
no, I think it's good. Why I like the word satire, your word, is because satire does have a positive. When you do a satire, it's for the purpose of reforming whatever's wrong, and the end, that couplet at the end, it's so positive, and yet by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. So he's giving it all to her at the end, right? He's sending her a kiss at the end.
Well, if we take it seriously as a poem on its face, on itself, and let's say it's not a joke, let's say there's something serious going on here, I do think he's asking. So there's a lot I could say about this poem. I could go, because there's a whole history he's writing out of these kind of troubadourian love, courtly manners of ways to do things. Petrarch is where there's a famous Italian poet, Petrarch. There's all these people writing about this is how love has to be. And you're idealizing somebody. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that Shakespeare, I think, adds to this is in his plays, I think he adds some reality and some psychological depth that you don't get anywhere else before him, really, not as much. And here and in other places, he's adding this, well, what about reality? Because my girlfriend, she farts. Like, I've heard of, like, I'm not just to be too crude, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's like, he knows there's a reality to reality. So what are we talking about when we're idealizing this? And many of the other poets, some poets in the past, one of the things about them that's interesting is that, like the courtly troubadour knights, for instance, of the 11th, 12th, 13th century, they're writing about women that are married that they can't actually have. So that's built into a lot of our structure of thinking about love, is the idea that you can't actually have this person. And so you idealize them and you make an image in your mind and you love that image. But I want to actually have the woman. I want the woman.
Well, in a sense, that's that. Before the last two lines, we get, I never saw a goddess go, right?
Yes, that's a great...
Right. Yeah. When she walks, she treads on the ground. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. Because
she's real.
Yes.
There's no such thing as a goddess.
So that's a very positive ending.
Yeah, exactly. And so I take this, I think there is some jokey satire type thing, but I take it as also serious. Like, I don't, he says some really things that I would not say to my wife, right? I wouldn't even think this is directed at her so much as readers of love poems. And, my mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far better, right? Her breasts are brownish, like gray, right? She's got black wires on her head. and
instead of golden hair.
Yeah, instead of golden
silky hair.
Tresses.
Yes.
Right? Like locks. Like,
no, I think your point is well taken.
Yeah. And it's all these things. She's not like that. I think people really stick out the then in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I don't think he's saying her breath reeks. I think he's saying that perfume's better than her breath, which is probably true, especially in the morning, right? And so there's a reality to that. And he does have these lines, I love to hear her speak, yet I know that music's better. So it's still I really take it very seriously, not as jokey, I guess. Like it's, does that make sense?
I do.
So I think that's what I really like about it. It's probably not something I would write as a morning love letter to my girlfriend, but it's still, I would write it on a blog to people who are reading love letters or love poems if I had like a love poems, blog post or something. But I loved it. I think it's great because it's really like, hey, let's have our ideals and let's have our cake and eat it too. Let's have the ideal and let's eat.
And the real is wonderful.
And the real is even better in a sense.
Yeah.
Because it's real. Because you actually get it. Anything else?
Thank you. No, I think it's great.